Welcome to the Brunch Club. This is where we raise a glass and champion female talent and leadership everywhere, and where sparkling is always encouraged. We toast to all of the amazing, diversely faceted women out there, filling your cup with inspiration and encouragement. Our guests are here to share their personal stories, experiences with careers, family, parenting, equality, mentorship, and advice. Welcome to the Brunch Club. Welcome to another episode of the Brunch Club. I am Rachel Swoboda, and I'm here with Kimberly Wang, who is a new friend of mine. It's spelled with an A, but pronounced with an O.
Thank you.
And Kimberly is an amazing friend of a friend of a friend, and she's going to be your friend next when you hear about what she does and why you absolutely want to work with her. So tell everybody what you do, and then we're going to gush all about it a little bit more.
That's so kind of you, and thank you for inviting me on your show. I'm so happy to be here. And
You're welcome.
What can I tell you? I am a legacy portrait and branding photographer, but I also am a veteran television director and producer. I worked for many years creating programming for Martha Stewart, ESPN, MTV, pretty much every network you can think of. And I was based in New York City until about a year and a half ago. So I'm really new to Southern California. But over the past decade or so, I've really focused on still portrait and branding photography.
Okay, I love when we can get big agency, big production, talented people from New York, from LA, in Orange County. It just like is that rising tide for Orange County, because we have so many great, amazing, talented people that have kind of like grew up in their careers other places, and then they're like, as soon as they can, they're like, I want to move somewhere really nice, and they move here, which is great.
Yes.
So now, what you're doing with the photography in the portrait photography space is unlike any other that I've ever spoken to. And I think that people need to be educated a little bit about what you do and how you do it and why it's different.
Well, thank you for asking. I think that what really drives what I do and has always driven what I do is story.
Okay.
When I was in television, I traveled all around the world creating programming. So I traveled to every continent but two. And I think what I learned during that time is that everyone has a story. You only need to ask the right questions. You only need to be present to folks. And I feel like now that I focus primarily on portraiture, brand storytelling, that sort of thing, I do work for magazines as well. I do editorial photography.
Okay.
A lot of what I do is create imagery that is becomes part of my clients' pictorial legacy. I feel like all of my clients, they've worked so hard to build their businesses, raise their families. They have done so much they're proud of, but the way that we preserve it is by creating imagery that will help tell their story generations from now. So when you walk into a museum nowadays and you look at portraits from the 1800s, we have to remember back then that was how people were preserving their legacy. And it's the same thing that we do now, only we have so much more latitude in terms of where we can shoot. We don't have to put you in a studio. We actually shoot on location. So much of what we do, we call it editorial photography because it really belongs on the cover of a magazine. That's how we shoot.
Well,
That's
and I like the term pictorial legacy. I think that's really a beautiful way to describe it, because in this digital age, people take photos on their phone, and quantity is limitless, right? I mean, you can take thousands of photos, right? But one that's going to be part of your legacy that you would want to have for that long,
right.
That's the sweet spot. That's what you're doing.
Right, thank you. That is the key, because I think that so many of my clients, I have spent time with them documenting their process if they create something, or documenting their family in a very specific way to help us to capture their connections with one another, their bond. We really go deep when we work with my clients. And I can't tell you how many times the New York Times or other publications have come to me and said, oh, you know that image that you took 10 years ago of this famous artist, or where you were following this politician or whatever. Those become the images that those folks choose to have major publications use to tell their story. So we are really focusing on getting to know each client so we understand, what is it that you want people to remember you for? What is it that you want your family members to know about what you did that's so powerful? Which I think for you, makes so much sense, because you are someone that's a connector. You're someone that builds community. So I feel like telling your story is all about helping people to understand that you love to help people to connect and know and learn, and that becomes part of your story, right? So when we work together, that's the thing that we would make sure that we focus on is connections and how people bond with one another, how people help each other to grow and flourish, right?
So I think it's important to note also that Kimberly's doing all of this with still photography. And everyone's talking these days about video a lot, right? There's short form video, there's long form video, there's reels. But photography, the art of photography is a lost art. And I think it's something that you have to really work with the right person in order to capture. So if you're going to be working with someone, let's say we're going to be working together, it's not just I pick an outfit and show up and get my hair and makeup done, right? Like there's a lot more that goes into it. So what would some of the pregame be?
It's such an interesting thing, the way that we work, because I would say most of my clients, when they come to me, they tell me, having my portrait taken isn't my absolute favorite thing.
I'd say most people probably say that.
Yeah, it's quite common. So the process that we created is really designed to address all of those issues. And I have to say, we work with a lot of prominent leaders like you. We work with Grammy, Tony, Emmy, Golden Globe Award winners. And there's no difference in how we deal with someone that's quite prominent versus someone that is on the rise.
Okay.
The only difference I would say between folks who are very practiced with media and those who are not is that those who are practiced with media understand that process is the key. So that means that they're used to having hair and makeup. They're used to choosing their wardrobe along with me. They're used to the preparation that it takes to create an image that will be lasting, that again belongs on the cover of a magazine, that belongs hanging on your wall, that is going to be that one of the markers of your pictorial legacy. So that's the only difference, is that people that have dealt with media for many years, they're used to all of that. Whereas with clients that are not, they get to sort of enjoy for the first time having that luxurious experience. So the first thing we do is we talk about, what are your dreams? What are your goals? What do you want people to know about you? Then I go to their homes. We work on their wardrobe. I help them to choose the outfits that tell their story, that help people to understand this is a person with a buoyant personality. This is someone who's strong, who has firm opinions. This is someone who is a connector, whatever that is.
That's wardrobe. Fantastic. I've never heard of a photographer who gets involved at that level. Yeah. Is that probably because of your background in
in television?
I was like, what do I call it? But
yes.
Because you do have the background, so you're able to kind of use those skills and apply them.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think what we understand is that everything that people take in, of course you can take in things audibly, but what people take in visually is so powerful. So what you wear, how you pose, how your hair and makeup looks, all of that is super important when it comes to telling your story. So yes, in TV, we work on all of that. Before we sit with people, we make sure, is your wardrobe correct for camera? Is your hair and makeup correct for camera? Does it tell the story we want to tell, right? So when we were doing an interview with someone who, for instance, was going through a difficult time and they needed people to kind of see them sympathetically, we would wardrobe them in a certain way.
Yes.
Right? We want people to feel like they can be relatable.
I talk about the fact that nothing happens on accident.
Right.
It really doesn't. It's all been curated. And there's that conversation. It's well, how much of it is when you cross that threshold of it's too fake. Right? But I'm not talking about going that far. I'm just talking about having a purposeful message. Just like when you're building your personal brand and you want to kind of say, all right, I want to be known as, strong and nice and, empathetic or whatever, right? Whatever you want to be known as. So it's making those choices to be seen in that way. And that's reflected in what you wear, what you say, the colors, the background, the staging, all of those things tell a comprehensive story.
That's so true. And I think you bring up such an important point, because I would say the main tenet of what we do is create authentic stories.
Yes.
So when you're talking about,
that's it.
Because I know that's a big part of what you do. It's also an important tenet in your work. authenticity is the key. So when we're working with folks, the reason I spend so much time with them before a shoot, I think, for instance, we spend probably at least 40 hours with each client, no matter what.
Wow.
So that
Are you
means,
a therapist too?
basically,
Yeah, pretty much.
It is
yeah.
like that because I really need to understand folks. So the more time I spend with people getting them ready for their shoot, the more I can really understand what it is that they want to communicate and how I can help them to either connect with their family members or grow their business or whatever our goal may be. And so the authentic story is the one that we're after. But
Like
that
when you
means-
authentically drink your water out of a fancy glass because you don't drink that much alcohol anymore, but you still like the glass.
That's right.
It's authentic.
Yes. Well, you know, and everything, I think we do have to understand that everything that appears in an image tells an aspect of our story. So
Yeah.
I really use my eye as a director and producer to make sure that everything that we're showing folks is in line with the story that they want to tell. And I have to say, you know, a lot of my clients come to me in some sort of transitional period. They have either launched a new business, they have just become single after maybe 30 years of being married, maybe they have kids that are going off to school, whatever it may be. When they come to me in a state of transition, they have an aspect of themselves that they're trying to access that they haven't either had the time to do because they're busy working and raising their families, or there's something sort of blocking them that's in the way. So when you talk about being a therapist, I am definitely not a therapist, but I do listen. And I really want people to share with me, what do you feel people don't see about you, know about what you do and how it's different. And so the more I understand, the more we're able to bring that out in all of the things that we do. And I think a lot of folks also, they're uncomfortable posing. So again, we're really creating editorial style imagery. So we want people to be able to feel comfortable in front of the camera. So the sessions that folks do with me, they're long enough that they're able to relax into the session. I can teach them how to pose in a way that feels natural to them, that also elevates how they feel inside, you know?
It's good.
Often people will say to me, I worked with a photographer and I did a bad job. I felt like I posed in an awkward way. And I say, that's not your job.
Yeah.
That's the photographer's job to share with you, okay, do this with your hands when you feel awkward, tilt your head this way, right? That's the photographer's job to help you to understand how to pose. It's not your fault when you don't feel that you look great in portraits. That's my job.
Now, is it always individuals that you work with? Or let's say if someone wanted to do holiday card photos with their whole family or a wedding, you know, what kind of projects do you like to work on the best?
So much of what we do is so diverse, so it is a wide range. So I have a lot of folks that come to me that are business owners, whether they are executives at Meta or Google or whatever. So that is one category. Folks that have businesses where they're trying to grow or they're trying to create a certain sort of message.
Okay.
But we work a lot with families. We work a lot with high school seniors who their parents come to me and say, this kid's about to go to college. I'm stressed out. I need to have something that's lasting, that when they go off and change so much, you know, because they all change when they go off to
change.
school,
Yeah.
that we can freeze, basically create a time capsule of who they are now. So we'll do these day-long sessions with high school seniors where if they're into equestrian, we capture that. If they have a band, we capture that. If they're into dance, so that in the end, the parents end up with an album and wall art and all these things that preserve that story.
I love
because
that.
they're going to keep growing. And I always feel like,
So all you moms out there, you've got to call her with your kids. I mean, seniors in high school, yes.
seniors, high school, juniors.
But yeah, I mean,
yeah.
even the 8th graders, like my daughter's in 8th grade right now. I mean, we're definitely in that time and space, like before she goes to high school. So,
Right.
you know, or if you're a professional, like there's a lot of reasons why I think people should definitely contact you and see your samples of your work. They're exquisite, really
Thank you.
beautiful.
Thank
so,
you.
How can people get in touch with you?
Through my Instagram is one way, which is based on my company's name, which is Eardog Productions. So EAR, like the ear on your head, plus dog, D-O-G, Eardog Photo, F-O-T-O. That's my Instagram. And my website, eardog.com.
Yep.
Is a great way. LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me, Eardog Productions, probably Kimberly M. Wang, W-A-N-G.
Okay.
So those are great ways.
And I'll
to
put it
reach
all
me.
in the description too, so you guys can check her out. Thank you for joining us today. And
So nice to be here with you.
you are
Thank
welcome.
you so
All right.
much.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks for stopping by the Brunch Club. It's been our pleasure to share this time with you. We look forward to bringing you more sparkling inspiration next weekend. If you have feedback, topics, or want to nominate someone to be a guest on the show, please reach out to us at rachel@sundaybrunchagency.com. Cheers!